Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this press conference. We especially welcome the members of the press who are with us and other distinguished guests. We're delighted that each of you have made the effort to be with us this morning. We thank you for that. This is a joyful and a historic occasion. It's a day which we can hardly overestimate in terms of its importance to Latter-day Saints the world over. Let me now introduce to you President Gordon B. Hinckley, President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He is a man among men, beloved of nearly 12 million members of the church worldwide. We revere him as a prophet of God. President Hinckley has just begun his 93rd year on this earth and has been president of the church since 1995. President Hinckley.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very nice to be with you, and very nice to be in the shade. This is cooler than it was around there when we placed the cover stone on the cornerstone of the temple. Now, as all of you know, this is a very significant day for those of us of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're back in Nauvoo to dedicate this magnificent building, built on the same spot where our forebears constructed a temple that looked like this, looked just like this, and worked through 5 years to build it, construct it, sacrificed everything to make it magnificent, and then left it as a result of the spirit of persecution that pervaded this area, left it to go west. And as they moved down across the river and over into Iowa, they could look back and see their handiwork, which they were leaving, most of them, almost all of them, never again to see again. And so, after all of this time, we concluded to replace that temple that was built here earlier. No expense has been spared. The church has become a great worldwide organization since those earlier days. And we, through the generosity of people, as well as the tithes of the church, have been able to reconstruct this temple and build it according to the most exacting standards. Nothing's been spared. And it will be dedicated today as the house of the Lord. And then henceforward, regular ordinance work of the kind that goes forward in these temples will go forward here. This will become the 113th working temple of the church and will take its place among the others. We've dedicated many temples, but this is a particularly exciting and wonderful day because of the significance of Nauvoo in the history of the church and our people, and the fact that, contrary to all the predictions that were made when we were driven out of here, we have come back with strength and membership and capacity to do that which we think deserve to be done here. Now, if you have any questions, we'd be pleased to entertain them.
Can you tell us why the temple faces west when most of the other temples of the church faced east, and the Angel Moroni as well?
Because Joseph Smith planned it that way. And I think he planned it that way because of the view. I think that magnificent view down across Nauvoo and the river and over into Iowa just can't be duplicated anywhere. It's just magnificent as it stands on this bluff. Now, the Salt Lake Temple faces east. And as I think of the events of today, I see these two great structures facing each other across a major part of the continent and bonded together in a common purpose for the good and blessing of the work of the Lord.
President Hinckley, would you share some of your personal history with Nauvoo and particularly your father's desire about this temple?
Well, I'd be glad to for a minute. I first came here in 1935. That's a long time ago. I was returning from my mission in England, and in those days, missionaries were permitted to drive cars home from Detroit for their folks if they desired to do so. And so Homer Durham, who was my traveling companion, and I each picked up a car for our fathers and drove this way. And Nauvoo was a sleepy little weed patch of a village. My father was mission president here in 1939, with the 100th anniversary of the coming of our people to Nauvoo. And he had a great interest in seeing the temple restored here. Well, they couldn't acquire all the property that was needed. They tried and couldn't bring it to pass, and it was never consummated. His dream was never realized. But it's been an interesting and wonderful thing for me to have had some hand in. Now, at this time, 50 years later, of constructing this beautiful temple, I think it's a better building than could have been built 50 years ago in his day. I'm grateful for that and very proud that we have it and that it is the wonderful and artistic and strong and lovely structure that it is.
This dedication was set on this particular day, the 27th of June, as a particularly significant day in the history of the church, the day of martyrdom. Did you choose the date, and how do you feel about the coincidence of those two events?
I chose the date, yes.
You chose the date?
June 27th, that we would have it and have it at the same hour. We'd have that dedicatory service at the same hour of the day when Joseph and Hiram were murdered in Carthage. Yes, as a memorial to them. We would dedicate this rebuilt structure as a memorial to them.
And second question, you talked about the meticulous detail on the temple. So, of course, I'm curious about the angel on top of the temple and why you chose not to use the original weather vane, instead the Moroni.
We think this is better. That's why we did it. We think that weather vane of an angel we considered with 12 the question of whether to put up the recumbent angel or the upright angel, and finally concluded to put up the upright angel. We think it looks better, and it is in harmony with what we've done elsewhere. And I think it's wonderful that it's there.
You have been known by members of the LDS Church, and I think it's very, very fair to say deeply loved for all that you have done in terms of moving the church forward from a public standpoint. Many of your predecessors have been much more hesitant to deal with the media and to be as public as you have been. I know a lot of people have speculated that this is kind of the crowning moment of your presidency. Could you talk about what you see for the future and what you anticipate for the balance of the time that you have to lead the church? I know a lot of people are looking forward to see maybe what you have up your sleeve next.
Concerning the future, yes, we'll go forward. The church is going to continue to grow. I think we've barely scratched the surface. The great opportunities really are ahead of us. And we move on from this state to the future that looks extremely promising. I have no doubt of that, and I have great confidence that the Lord overseeing this work will see to its growth. I absolutely marvel when I see the stature of the church today, the breadth of its encompassing the world. We now have members in 160 nations. We've become a great international family, 11 million strong. It's significant when you think of our people who left here, a small group who were largely in poverty as a result of what they'd done here, who left here, went to the valleys of the West. When you fly over these great farms of Illinois and Iowa and see this tremendous soil, deep and rich and fruitful, how dreary the valley of the Great Salt Lake must have looked when they arrived there in July. Burned and dry and a desert country. But they didn't complain. They went to work and made the desert blossom as the rose. And it's become a beautiful part of the world. Recently hosted the Winter Olympics and become widely known as a great area of the world. But I think when they left here, it must have been a very, very dreary place into which they went and determined to settle. Well, the past is behind us, the future's ahead. Never looked better than it does today. This is the greatest season in the history of the church, and it will only get better.
What message do you hope that people will take away from either the open house ceremony, the open house events, or the dedicatory sessions?
I hope they will go with this impression that here is a people who believe in the immortality of the human soul. Everything that will occur in this temple henceforth will be concerned with the things of eternity. Everything that takes place here, the baptismal work, the ordinance work, will all point in the direction of the conviction of our people that God has spoken, that the heavens have been parted, that the Father and the Son appeared to the prophet Joseph and declared a system under which we believe in the eternity of the human soul, that life goes on, that this is not the end, but that we believe that our lives will continue, and that as the blessings of eternity are available to us, they must also be available to others who wish to accept them.
This temple has been completed in 28 months, a fast-track construction.
Yeah.
We know the workers have worked long hours. There has been a sense of urgency about this temple, about the conference center, about all the temples that have been built. What is this sense of urgency that seems to be driving this work right now?
Well, I feel an urgency. You see this cane? I don't use it to walk with much. I use it as a threat. Well, of course, we wish to build it. I wish to see it done. I wanted to see it done for so it could be dedicated on the 27th of June, 2002, on the anniversary date of the murder of Joseph and Hiram Smith in Carthage. Now, we're not going to dwell on that at great length. We're not going to look to the sorrows of the past unduly. We're going to look to the present and the future. And we just were in a hurry to get it done. This church is in a hurry to get its work done. We've got a big job to do. We've got to do work for the whole world. And we don't have forever to do it. We're in a hurry. Okay?
And about Joseph Smith, do you think today he is satisfied and happy with what's going on?
Well, I hope so. I believe so. I feel satisfied and intend to say in the dedicatory services that there will be with us today an unseen audience. I feel confident of that, and that Joseph Smith will be in that audience, and Hiram Smith will be in that audience, and many others who gave their life and their time and their energies to the construction of that temple. I marvel. I want to say that I really marvel when I read the history of the construction of that temple, to think that they insisted on finishing it before they left it, before they gave it up finally.
President, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Hope that it's been a good morning for you. Thank you.
This concludes our press conference. This afternoon at 6 o'clock, the first of 13 dedicatory sessions will be held here in the temple. Some 20,000 people will attend inside the temple. The chapels across the world, literally in the largest congregation ever assembled in the history of the church, will receive 2 of those broadcasts. Some 3.5 million tickets have been issued for people to attend those dedicatory services. We thank President Hinckley. Thank you, the members of the media, for covering this event. Thank you very much for being with us.